Today's guest is a 20-year-old female fighting against feminism.
It's never been about choice or about equality. It's always been about pushing women into the workforce and having them ignore marriage and family.
A Florida girl who grew up in pageants and modeling on set, she left the industry after Hollywood offered her life-changing money to compromise her values.
It was $1 million pay. I'm reading the role, I'm kind of reading the script, and there's basically a nude scene in one of them. If my father can't watch something that I do for work, I'm not doing it.
Today, she's left the industry and built a following online where she talks about her journey turning to Christ, getting married at 18, and the traditional values that are forgotten by modern women.
Women are not happy. We blame it on the economy or we blame it on social media. But in reality, if you look at who the happiest women are, it's married mothers with children.
In this episode, we'll dive into why she thinks Gen Z women should reject feminism, reveal the dark side of the entertainment industry she walked away from, and question whether feminism has given women power or if it was designed to take it away.
The majority of women actually did not want the right to vote. Out of 575,000 women in Massachusetts, only 4% said yes. So I think the most evil part is
Savannah Faith Stone. Welcome to the Jack Neel Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Savannah, a good place to start here. 39% of baby boomer women identified as feminist. Millennial women, 46%. And 53% of Gen Z women self-identify as feminist. Why do you think so many women call themselves feminist in 2026? And why do you think so many Gen Z women specifically are feminist?
Women call themselves feminist without actually knowing much about feminist thought. They don't really research into it. They just kind of regurgitate what the media, celebrities, and the news says. And they call themselves feminists because they feel like they owe it to the sisterhood, right? If you say that you're an anti-feminist, then you're basically kicked out of the sisterhood and you're betraying your own kind. You're betraying women. And with Gen Z women specifically, I think we've just seen feminist ideology progress so much, like from first wave to fourth wave, that now every sort of freedom that they see as, like sexual empowerment and abortion and being an independent woman, all of that they tie to feminism. And so if they don't feel like they have freedom, well, then they can't identify with the feminist movement.
And what freedom do you think feminism gives these women to where they want to identify with that label?
Well, it hasn't actually given us any freedom. It's sort of enslaved us. It's made us feel like in order to be valuable, in order to be empowered, we have to be exactly like men and be just as successful as men. And also, it has exploited us sexually with OnlyFans and porn and Instagram now basically being porn. They think they get all the rights from feminism, the right to speak, the right to get divorced, the right to vote, the right to be a public figure, all of it. When in reality, women were working before feminism. Women were public speakers before feminism. They actually could have a bank account. Some feminists will say you wouldn't be able to have a bank account without feminism. That's not true. The only thing that is true is that women couldn't be held responsible for debt because they saw men as protectors and providers. So only men could be held responsible for debt, which is kind of nice because now women can go into hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of debt and be liable for that debt. So that is the only thing that has changed as far as the financial part. Women could also work, right? So like the telephone was invented in the 1800s. Right away, women were being telephone operators. And to say that we wouldn't be able to speak is not true either. It was really a separation of class. So if you were a wealthy woman, you could do whatever you wanted. You could be a public figure, you could be a public speaker. If you were a poor woman, you didn't really have those opportunities. So it was actually divided by class and race and not by gender.
I want to touch on something you said. You said women didn't have the right to divorce their husbands?
That's what they say. Correct.
Is that true?
That's not true. Now we have no-fault divorce. So feminism gave us that. But I don't think that's a good thing. But yeah, they did have the right to divorce their husbands. They didn't have to stay in marriages.
Break that down for me. So what exactly is no fault divorce?
If a woman files divorce towards her husband, right, like she can't be held responsible for anything that happened in that marriage. So let's say she cheated on her husband, she can still get millions of dollars of money in divorce settlement, even if it was her fault that the marriage fell apart.
Savannah, with 53% of Gen Z women identifying as feminist, they'll be the first generation facing a potential military draft with the Iran war. How do you think feminists will react when they get drafted to war with Iran?
They won't react well. Every time I debate feminists and we're talking about equality, and I bring up the draft and how we can't be drafted, they will say, well, I'd be fine with being drafted. They're lying to themselves. They would not want to be drafted. And the only reason they say that is because they know there's no draft and there hasn't been for a very long time. But I don't know. We could be going into that. And they would not react well to that. I don't think any woman would if we're actually being honest with ourselves.
I guess when you think of a society like Iran and the Iranian regime, the theocracy there, do you think that that is an ideal representation of what women's rights should be and the kind of restrictions placed on them?
No, I'm not a fan of Sharia law. And what's interesting is feminists are fighting so hard in America for the rights of American women as if we don't already have more rights than any other country. Why are they not fighting for women in Islamic countries who are actually under oppression, right? Like a 9-year-old can get married to a 70-year-old. That's what feminists should be fighting for. They have virtually no rights over there. But for some reason, feminists are still dying on this hill that women in the West have no rights and we're actually oppressed and we're still living under a patriarchy.
Do you think women are only feminist when it's convenient for them?
Yeah, and I think a lot of women are confused about what feminism actually is, because when you argue with them and you ask, well, why are you a feminist? They'll say, because I believe men and women are equal. That is the textbook definition of feminism. But it's never been about choice or equality. It's always been about direction. It's always been about controlling what women are doing. Early feminist Simone de Beauvoir said very famously, women should not have the choice to stay at home with their children, because if they do, all women will choose that. That was not the only feminist that said something like that. Pretty much all of them. Kate Millett said, feminism will never succeed until the nuclear family is destroyed. So it's never been about choice or about equality or you can work or you can stay home. It's always been about pushing women into the workforce and having them ignore marriage and family.
Would you say modern feminism has made women happier?
No, and we can look at every statistic. The happiest women are married women with children. There's also something called the paradox of declining female happiness, which shows that we are more free, technically, than ever as women in society. We have more opportunity. We can basically do whatever we want. But the happiness is steadily declining in women.
I would guess it's your view that women who signed up to support the feminist movement didn't know what they were signing up for exactly. Do you see the feminist movement as evil? And tell me about some of the origins that most people misunderstand.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily think there was a lot of women that signed up for the feminist movement. If we're talking about first wave and we're talking about the 19th Amendment, the majority of women actually did not want the right to vote. It was a very small group of radical revolutionaries that had a lot of funding behind them. It was not this grassroots movement where women kind of looked around and they said, you know what, like, we're really oppressed. We don't have the right to vote. All of our husbands hate us. We're just stuck at home and we're bored housewives. That wasn't the case, but everyone thinks that. Even the beginning of feminism, like the first wave, it has a lot of occult practices. There's witchcraft involved. Pretty much every single feminist was involved in some sort of witchcraft or New Age spirituality. And that has kind of translated into today as well. You'll see like a lot of feminists still practice that New Age spirituality because religions like Christianity were seen as patriarchal with God the Father. So they saw that as oppression. The women that marched for feminism, I would say they were evil. I would say they were practicing evil things. But again, this was such a small minority. It was not the majority of women that wanted feminism.
Can you tell me more about that, the witchcraft portion?
A great example is Gloria Steinem's Miss Magazine in 1972. And this magazine traditionally was like beauty tips and homemaking tips for housewives. And with the CIA's funding, Gloria Steinem published this magazine in 1972 with the Hindu goddess Kali on it. And if you look at her, if you like pull up a picture of this, she's got like 8 arms. At the top, it's like Gloria Steinem on sisterhood, raising children without gender roles, abortion. The magazine completely flipped into a progressive magazine. And the goddess on the front, Kali, was known for the demonization and destruction of men.
Are there any other examples of the feminist movement being related to witchcraft? And I don't know a ton about witchcraft personally, but I would guess that the idea of women empowerment and worshiping Mother Goddess as opposed to
Yeah.
patriarchy is very common within it. But do you have any other insights on
Yeah, all the early feminists, they had to find religions that were not ruled by men, basically, like with God the Father being patriarchal. So they worshipped all these goddesses. Another religion that they practiced very often was Dianic Wicca, which is another form of witchcraft. And they also practiced sex magic. So like big, basically think of it as orgies where they would have all these people come in and they would take psychedelics and all have sex with each other and somehow try to summon spirits.
And this was part of the feminist movement?
This was first wave feminism. So first wave feminism, I would say, was probably the most evil as far as the witchcraft roots and the spiritualism in it.
So what are the waves of feminism? Like, how did it progress over time? Like, can you kind of give me a timeline of from its origins to now?
Yeah, so first wave feminism was mainly the 19th Amendment, so the right to vote. Second wave feminism was the sexual revolution and the idea of free love. Then we get into third wave, that was abortion and birth control. Now we're in the fourth wave, which is LGBTQ, transgender ideology, DEI, basically everything that we're dealing with today.
How does like LGBT and DEI fit into feminism?
That's where I get so confused.
Right.
And it literally does not make sense to me how we are protecting women when we're putting men in women's sports and men in women's bathrooms. I don't know why we're fighting to basically exclude women, like the uniqueness of women and the qualities of women. Like, for example, things like Leah Thomas or Caitlyn Jenner on Time Magazine or Woman of the Year. That feels unfair to women, right? That feels like we're still putting men's interests, biological men's interests in front of women. But they say that that's part of feminism because technically we're all equal and we're all the same.
Yeah, so I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but the way you described it to me sounds like this movement, the first step of it was give women the right to vote. And then all the other subsequent movements were trying to appeal to women to kind of change society, change laws. Like, is that kind of how you see this?
I think they knew what women were going to vote for because pre-19th Amendment, women were worried about how clean their communities were, if the children were taken care of, their homes, their husbands. Post-19th Amendment, now we have abortion, DEI, LGBTQ, transgenderism. Those are women's issues now instead of what they were beforehand. So I think they knew what women were going to vote for. Even now, like 82% of women in New York City voted for Mamdani, a man who would not condemn Sharia law. And I'm sure all those women would identify as feminists. But then you're voting for someone who stands for the very thing that takes away rights from women in the Middle East.
So if we think of this kind of like a psychological operation almost designed to market to women on various issues to get certain legislation, certain movements, certain changes in society in place, like what are some examples of propaganda that helped fuel feminism?
I think we should start with the funding of the 19th Amendment. Because, again, women think that it was this grassroots movement where all the women said, we need the right to vote. They looked around and thought, man, I really want to be involved in politics. And that was just not the case. Out of 575,000 women in Massachusetts voting on whether or not they wanted the ballot, only 4% said yes. So much so, the anti-suffragist movement was so strong that pro-suffragists took their option not to vote off the ballot. On a ballot where women were voting on if they wanted to vote or not, they took the option not to vote off the ballot, which sounds a little counterintuitive. But the funding behind the 19th Amendment is really interesting because the biggest financier of this was Alva Belmont. And Alva Belmont was originally married to William Vanderbilt, which was Cornelius Vanderbilt's grandson. And that was the wealthiest family in the world at the time. And so with his help, both of them were like already involved in the feminist movement. Then he ends up cheating on her multiple times. She gets a divorce settlement of $10 million in 1895, which today would be translated to about $390 million, making her one of the richest women in the world. She then marries Oliver Belmont, who is the son of August Belmont, who was a Jewish investment banker for the Rothschild family. Oliver Belmont was flown to Germany to train in investment banking with the Rothschilds family. And then because she had so much money from that, the $390 million in today's society, she donated so much of it to the National American Suffrage Movement. She even bought them an office. So all of these wealthy elite families were involved in funding the 19th Amendment. They really had no backing because most women and men didn't even want it. So they had to have funding for it in order to get it passed. There was another woman named Phoebe Hearst, pretty much the same thing, super wealthy, also funded it. It was all of these wealthy elite families, and even the William Vanderbilt was one of the founding members of the Jekyll Island Club. And so all of these elite families were meeting in secret, trying to figure out how can we fund this amendment to get it passed, because no one really wants it. It's not working for us. We have to somehow get it passed, and the way to do that is money.
Why do you think the elite wanted women to vote so bad? Hey, quick question. How many different AI tools are you using right now to run your business? Because if you're like me, you're probably using ChatGPT for brainstorming, Claude for emails and copywriting, some chatbot service for customer support, and probably an AI voice agent to make your calls. And that's why our team switched over to High Level. It saves us so much money, and it's super convenient having all the AI tools for our business in one place. Like with their AI studio, you get voice agents that answer calls and book appointments 24/7, a chatbot that responds to leads within seconds. And with just a simple prompt, you can create a website, a lead funnel, social media posts that are all connected to the same CRM. So if you guys want to stop paying for a dozen different AI tools to run your business, just go to jackneel.com/highlevel or scan the QR code on screen. Again, that's jackneel.com/highlevel if you want to run your entire business with one AI platform. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast. Why do you think the elite wanted women to vote so bad?
To spread all these left-wing issues. They knew that men were never going to vote for things like abortion and DEI and gay marriage and transgenderism. So they had to have women do it because women are led very emotionally. Even the anti-suffragists, they had a lot of compelling reasons for why they didn't want to vote, which is why I believe it's hidden from history. The things they said is women's nervous systems cannot handle politics. They're going to go emotionally insane. We see that playing out now.
Break that down for me for people who don't know what is the women's anti-suffragist movement? I've never heard this.
It's hidden from history.
Yeah.
It was all of the women that were against the 19th Amendment. It was a bigger movement than pro-suffragist.
It was bigger?
It was way bigger. There was more women involved in that, like fighting against the right to vote, because they knew that they predicted this. They predicted that the birth rates decline. They predicted that it was going to break apart marriages and families. They predicted the demonization and domination over men. And all of that has come into fruition.
How do women not realize how feminism is hurting them? Like, obviously, we see unhappiness, we see loneliness, but what are some of the effects women don't realize in their life?
I think the four biggest things that feminists really ignore that happened in congruency with the smashing of the patriarchy is, number one, we can't even define what a woman is anymore. I don't know if you saw Matt Walsh's film, What is a Woman? Basically flies around the country asking all these professionals, like these professors, what is a woman? And they can't define it. And the only one that can define it at the end of the movie is his wife, who says an adult human female. In 2022, the Cambridge Dictionary changed their definition to a person who lives and identifies as female, even if they were not born with that sex. Merriam-Webster changed their definition to a person who identifies as opposite of male. Where is the uniqueness of womanhood if we can't even define what it is anymore? Number two, it's put men in all of our places, and men are edging women out while wearing dresses. They're winning in sports. They are Time Magazine's Woman of the Year, even if they're a biological male. Number three, women are not happy. Our happiness is on the steady decline, and it has been since feminism. And no one wants to be honest about that. I feel like we blame it on the economy or we blame it on social media. But in reality, if you look at who the happiest women are, it's married mothers with children. And over 50% now of women ages 20 to 39 are childless and not married. Also, it's created this gender war between men and women. The sexes have never been more divided. And I think we see that very plainly in today. It seems like the men are blaming the women constantly and the women are blaming the men for all their problems.
When you think of male loneliness, female loneliness, male unhappiness, female unhappiness. Not getting married, not having children is the core cause, in your view, of generalized female unhappiness. Like, what do you think is the cause for men? Do you think it's the same thing?
I think porn is really hurting men in general. Women are out competing men on every single level. They're graduating college at higher rates. They're making more money. They're more successful in their careers at a younger age. When you throw porn into a society and you get all these men addicted to porn, well, then they have no motivation to go out and succeed, because traditionally men went out to compete with other men and succeed to get the woman. But now if they're getting that dopamine hit from porn, well, then there's no reason to go compete and try to get a woman.
So you think men replace marriage and kids with porn, and that's largely hurting them. What is the equivalent of porn for women, I guess, in your view?
Definitely social media, but also I think bureaugamy is contributing very largely to women's happiness. And that is the idea that the government replaces what a husband and family could give you. So government assistance programs have basically replaced the man in relationships. The Obama administration created this woman, not a real woman, prototype named Julia. From birth to death, got all of her assistance from the government to show that a woman could be independent and on her own, didn't have to get married, didn't have to have a family, and the government would take care of all of her needs.
Are women able to get more access to funding from the government than men in general?
That depends, I think, on income status. But if you're like a single mother,
Okay, there's a lot of assistance in that realm. That makes sense. What would society look like if we actually reached true gender equality?
I don't think there's any such thing as true gender equality, because we're never going to be equal. And when I say equal, I mean in sameness, because that's kind of what they define as equal. Equal in value, obviously, but in who we are as people biologically, we're not equal, and we're never going to achieve that. And I don't want to achieve that. While they want to push the idea that men can get pregnant, women would have to be drafted, the husband and wife dynamic would probably just completely crumble, as it already is. True gender equality would be a mess, and they would have to involve a lot of science into it, as they already are, changing people's genders, trying to make it to where men can become pregnant. I think that's where we're headed, sadly. But feminists will still march for that. Even though they say it's about protecting women and elevating women, it's really about just making us all the same, which is detrimental to our society.
What's the darkest part of history that feminists don't talk about?
I would say for sure the witchcraft that was involved with feminism. As far as spiritually, it's the most evil. But the feminists that I argue with now, they don't really care that there was paganism and witchcraft involved in feminism, because they do practice those things. I would say a lot of the funding of the feminist movement is pretty evil because it's hidden from history. They also hid the anti-suffragist movement from history completely. Like when I tell people most women didn't want the right to vote, they're like, "You're lying." I'm like, "No, you can look this up. They really didn't." They hid the reasons for why women didn't want to vote as well. So I think the most evil part is honestly that all of us as women are raised in a society where we have to say that we're feminists because we owe it to our gender and owe it to our sisterhood. And you can't ask any questions about it, or you're betraying the sisterhood. So we grew up our entire lives believing that women had this grassroots organization where they fought super hard for their rights, and they were finally given their rights after fighting so hard. And all of this has been given to you by women, and you should be so grateful to women. But in reality, we're just being lied to about history. That's what feels the most evil.
How about the Planned Parenthood movement? Are you familiar with the origins of that one?
Yeah.
I know briefly about it, and I've heard rumors about some of this, but I'm not really sure what's true. What's the origins of Planned Parenthood?
Margaret Sanger was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and she was part of the eugenics movement and wanted one perfect race, which happened to be the white race. So Planned Parenthood was marketed very heavily towards Black women. Now, who's getting the most abortions today? Black women. They wanted to push it to Black women in order to obliterate the Black race. So it is rooted in a lot of racism. She also came up with Planned Parenthood because she said her mother, Margaret Higgins, died of having 18 births and 11 children, which was not true. Her mother died of tuberculosis, which was very common at that time. But they pushed this story to push Margaret Sanger's radical ideas that no, women having children, like, it's going to kill them. It's not good for their bodies. There's a lot of evil behind birth control as well as Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger also helped with the formation of birth control as well.
Do you think getting an abortion is healthy, like physically or spiritually?
Spiritually, I believe it rots your soul. Physically, it can't be healthy. It also creates infertility in women. Like, women who get more abortions are more likely to become infertile because it's a very invasive procedure.
How do you see it spiritually?
I am a Christian, so we're all made in the image of God. I don't think God makes mistakes. And I see life as very, very valuable. And abortion is ripping a child limb by limb out of your womb. A lot of cases, they harvest their organs as well. So I think it's one of the greatest evils of today's society, and it's killed 1/3 of our generation.
You said they harvest their organs.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
There is some things in the Epstein files about this. And I'll be honest, I couldn't read all of it, so I don't know too much about this. But they would harvest their organs for things like skincare products. And I don't know if you saw the movie. There's a movie it's with Demi Moore, where you can like inject yourself and it keeps her young. Yeah, the movie's called The Substance. It's basically where she takes this pill or injects herself and she's able to stay young all the time. This woman's like a Hollywood actress and she wants to stay young forever because she's gotten old and like now she can't do the things she used to do. She's not seen as beautiful. There's some conspiracy theories. The difference between a conspiracy theory and a fact is like 10 years, so I'm sure we'll find this out. They're harvesting babies' organs in order to make this sort of serum concoction in order to keep these Hollywood celebrities staying, like, looking the exact same and staying young.
Who benefits the most from women who never get married and never have kids?
Nobody.
Because I think your claim here is that feminism is a psyop to break apart the nuclear family, make sure women never have kids, never get married. I guess, like, what are the positive effects for that for the people who designed that movement?
That's always a question I get. Like, why do elites do the things they do? Power and control to see how much they can psyop a society. Maybe they have so much money that they're bored and want to manipulate society.
So is 53% what year? Or like what time frame?
1902, I believe. 1902.
And now that's 7%?
Now we're at 7%.
Huh. And what's the main cause of that?
Not having children.
So they don't want white people to have children, is the claim.
I don't know if that's my claim, but that's what's happening.
What movie or TV show has hurt women the most?
Sex and the City.
Tell me about that. I actually haven't seen that.
I've seen like maybe a couple episodes, but it was like this, I guess it was early 2000s, 2010-ish show of these four women that lived in New York City. And they basically have like the girl boss life that everyone aspires to have. They're sleeping around. They're not really in committed relationships. The main character, Samantha, is like who every single woman wanted to be because she was this girl boss who just had a bunch of sexual relationships with everyone. What's interesting is the woman who created this show, Candace Bushnell, in her 50s, came out and said, I really regret prioritizing my career and not getting married and having kids. And to every woman who watches Sex and the City, please know that this is a fantasy and it's not something that you should actually strive for.
I guess take me back to like your childhood. Have you thought about some of the shows or movies you were consuming and maybe what they were doing like to your mindset around being a girl boss or feminism in general? A mutual friend of ours, we'd seen the movie She's the Man the other night. And I'd never watched that before, but I think my sister really liked it. I remember her friends liking it when we were kids. And I was like, this is like very interesting that this came out so long ago. And it's kind of pushing this idea of like girl boss, and everyone in the movie was oppressing her. Like these soccer male players were like, oh, you can't play soccer as well as us. I'm like, that movie wouldn't even make sense today because, I mean, most people just assume that women and men are equal in terms of like job opportunities or sports or anything.
Yeah, She's the Man is interesting because it basically portrays the message that a woman can only be seen as better if she's a man. And then, for me in my childhood, I was not a consumer of a ton of movies and shows. I was playing outside, thank God. But the music, for sure. Like, I grew up in the era of Taylor Swift, when Taylor Swift was a man hater. And now that she's engaged, they've replaced her with people like Sabrina Carpenter. So there always has to be someone who's carrying on the message, right? There always seems to be at least one artist or a few movies or shows that are popular at the time that everyone's consuming that has this feminist messaging behind it. I think of things like Gossip Girl, which was a very popular show growing up. Basically the same thing as Sex and the City, but it was a bunch of high school students who were just sleeping around. The main characters are like girl bosses and they're going to Yale and Harvard. And it's a very unrealistic show because I've watched it now as an adult and I'm like, yeah, this is not what high schoolers are doing usually. Like they're not, shopping in New York City and buying $10,000 purses. So I just think the girl boss messaging and the idea of sexual freedom and sleeping around has been pushed to young women so much at a very young age, like 12, 13, 14.
Do you think Taylor Swift's music is demonic?
There's some speculation that it is, that she practices witchcraft. Well, you only rise to fame if your message is approved. And her message is approved. It is about having as many relationships as possible. I think every single one of her songs is a breakup song about a different man, pretty much. And if we look at her like more recent albums, the song The Man, where she says like, I so sick of running as fast as I can. I wish I could get there faster if I was a man. This woman is like a billionaire complaining about how she would never be able to get what she wants unless she was a man. That seems to be a trend, right? Among these like Alex Cooper types who signed a multi-million-dollar deal with SiriusXM and still says things like, women are not, they're still not equal to men and we're not as successful. And if I was a man, I could be so much more successful. It's like, you have the most popular women's podcast. What are you talking about? There's this state of perpetual victimhood among really successful women, but maybe they're successful because they push that message.
What was the first line you said a minute ago? You only get to the top if your message is approved.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the idea come from?
That the most famous people are always pushing a demonic, feminist, or left-wing message. And now do you remember when we used to like respect celebrities, look up to them, think they were super cool? Now I just assume that you sold your soul or you're a pedophile. I really have no respect. And when we think about like Doja Cat in 2020, Doja Cat like blew up on TikTok in 2019, 2020. And then all of a sudden everything was demonic. It was like her wearing horns and always in red, and all of her music was demonic. And then now we see people like Sabrina Carpenter. This was a Disney Channel star who all of a sudden blew up over the past 2 years. All of her music videos, she's killing men. Could you imagine if the roles were reversed? And getting on stage and at awards and saying things like, the key to be successful in music is to call men stupid in every way you can, call them stupid again. Pretty much every song she has is about calling men stupid and useless, even though men built the stage that she's standing on.
It's really fascinating. I never thought about this in terms of the music industry. How about on social media? Do you think it's rewarded to say things that are, I guess, oppressive of men or negative toward men?
It seems that they can get away with it, right? So pretty much every video on TikTok that's demonizing men or saying something about men or I hate men or kill all men, there seems to be an overwhelming amount of support in those comments. I'll go read the comments and I'm like, actually, are we being serious? And those videos will go viral. But if you address women or say things like, yeah, women should stop hating men, something as basic as that, you're a pick-me, you're a misogynist.
That word pick-me is so interesting. What do you think of pick-me girls?
All of them. I mean, most of the pick-me's online have already been picked. So maybe you should listen to them. They'll call you a pick-me because you say things that are true, right? You say things like misandry is really common and it's fine, but misogyny is not okay. Like, we can't say anything without being called a misogynist. We can't say, "Hey, women are abusing their children more than men," without being called a misogynist. So anything that you say about women that's true, you're automatically called a pick-me or misogynist because they have to hide behind that label because they know what you're saying is true.
Do you think girls with nose rings or septum rings are a red flag?
I don't know. I don't know if mentally stable people put holes all in their face or dye their hair blue.
Why do so many feminists dye their hair blue?
You know, like poisonous frogs have really bright colors to ward off predators. So they dye their hair colors like blue and pink so that men stay away from them.
Do you think it's a similar thing with a septum ring?
Hey, I'm liberal here, just to let everyone know.
What about women with tattoos?
What about it? Do I think it's a red flag? I don't know if that's necessarily a red flag. I mean, do I think that they look great when you're covered in tattoos? No.
Do you think high achieving women struggle more in dating?
Yes, because I believe that they compare their success to their men. I've actually talked to a few of my very successful female friends about this, and they're like, "Well, I'm a millionaire and I can't find a man that's a millionaire or makes more than me, so I'm kind of screwed. I can't find a man." And if you're only looking for financial success in a man, if you're only looking at his wallet, then don't be surprised when that man only leads from his wallet and has no other morals or values. A lot of women are like, he has to make six figures and be 6 foot tall and have 6 inches and have a six pack. Those are their standards. But they're never looking at the morals and values of a man. Those are the number one things you should be looking for. That's the man that's going to be your husband. That's the man that's going to raise your children. And it's always about, well, he's not making enough money. Well, what's his work ethic? What if you guys got married and you both have a really strong work ethic and you built something really cool together? Now, that's an even better story. Because the reality of the super wealthy man and stay-at-home girlfriend dynamic, it's marketed a lot on social media, but it's not a huge reality. Most couples are starting from the ground up and working their asses off together and building something.
Do you think it's harder to date a hyper successful man and kind of be the stay at home girlfriend? Like, what do most women not realize about the reality of dating a successful guy?
Most women are not ready for that. They say they want a high-value, successful man, but then they'll call women who maintain a lean physique and take care of themselves vain. They constantly have attitude problems. They'll go through your phone. They have trust issues. They get upset if he's working on a weekend. And that man doesn't need you in his life. He wants you to be his peace. And if you are constantly causing drama in the relationship, you're not cut out for that.
I guess, where do your views stem from originally? Like, when you think of the role of what a man should be versus what a woman should be, are you thinking like hunter-gatherer? Or are you thinking, well, we were pretty happy in the early 1900s? Like,
I don't know, because I wasn't around then. Maybe Adam and Eve before they sinned. That was probably peak.
and what do you think that looked like?
God created Adam first. And people don't know, he didn't create Eve right away. He had Adam kind of get his life together, per se. And then he took Adam's rib and made Eve and said, I'm going to make a helper fit for you. So we're supposed to work together in different ways. And I think we have to take that and apply it to modernity. It's not like we can go back to the 50s or the early 1900s. We're in modern world, and we have to figure out how to create those dynamics today. And I think it's less, when I say roles and dynamics and whatever, people get so frustrated and they're like, I don't want to cook and clean. That's not what I'm saying. If you've got a man who likes to cook, let him cook for you. That's fine. It is more of this idea of men are protectors, providers, and defenders, and women are the heart of this nation. Charity work has gone down by 75% since feminism because women were focused on charities instead of politics before the 19th Amendment. And they were also mainly working inside the home and not outside the home. So now women aren't involved in charity work. Who's serving our communities? Who's nurturing? No one, because men and women are doing the exact same things now.
So you think women should be working?
Women have always worked.
But what roles do you think they're best in? Like, do you think they shouldn't be making money? It should be like volunteer, working at the home, in the community?
No, that would be hypocritical. I make money.
Right.
But traditionally, before feminism changed the priority from family to career, they were working in like agriculture, or they were nannying or homeschooling their children. And then now it's being pushed to work outside the home. I just think women have to be honest with themselves about what they actually want. Do I think 9 to 5 corporate jobs are good for women? No, not necessarily. I don't think it's really good for anyone. I think it's modern day slavery. So they have to find what they're passionate about. But I would say if your goal is a family and a marriage, try to find something to where you can still prioritize your marriage and family.
Hmm.
The downfall, though, is most families can't survive without 2 incomes because we flooded the labor market with women. Wages never increased. Now you have to have 2 incomes in order to sustain a household. And even then, families are living paycheck to paycheck. And their children are going to daycare that they're paying like 40 to 50 grand a year for. And the children are being raised by institutions instead of their parents. It's very sad when you actually break it down. How do we fix that? I don't know. A lot of things have to change.
So women entering the workforce, you think that that has led to greater like economic instability of individuals? Like, is it harder to make money since women entered the workforce because there's more labor?
Yeah.
That's
People
interesting.
are always like, well, why do we need 2 incomes now? Why do you think?
Right.
Because that didn't used to be the case.
Because a lot of people talk about, oh, these people are coming to America and taking our jobs, but it's really like women took our jobs because
It's a little
they
bit
were
of both.
told to work. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think makes a woman realize feminism actually hurts her? Or like what event has to happen in their life? Random question really quick. Have you ever looked up if the shampoo you're using can disrupt your hormones? Because if you're like me, you probably didn't know that over 70% of men's grooming products have chemicals that can disrupt your endocrine system or your testosterone levels. Now, I care a lot about my health, but I didn't really think any healthy products could make my hair look good, so that's why I was so glad I met the guys at Based. They gave me their Shower Duo shampoo conditioner, and it's made with plant-based ingredients like peppermint or argan oil, so there's no sulfates, no hormone disruptors, nothing that's gonna mess with your body. And after using it for a while now, genuinely my hair does feel way healthier, like clean and hydrated as opposed to dry and dull. And honestly, I think it looks better too. So if you've been using the same products forever without thinking twice about what's actually in them, make sure to check out Base Body Works. It's a plant-based, all-natural men's grooming brand that actually performs. So if you guys want to try it out, just go to jackneel.com/based and use the code JackNeel at checkout for 20% off your first order. Plus, you get a free toiletry bag when you buy your first set. So again, that is jackneel.com/based, or you can scan the QR code on screen. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast. What do you think makes a woman realize feminism actually hurts her? Or like what event has to happen in their life?
They need to find a man. I always say, like, some men are like, the biggest red flag that you can have in a woman is if she's liberal. And I'm like, it's really not. Young women will conform to whatever political ideology their man is. So it doesn't matter if she's low-key a little feminist. It's fine. Once they have a man and a lot of women get married, they'll realize like, oh, my life is so much better and this is how it's supposed to be. Like I'm supposed to have protection and provision and not just be on my own. Or they get into their 30s and they've been hustling and grinding and not prioritizing things like marriage and family. And then they're like, I kind of regret that. I was kind of sold this lie that that's what I needed to focus on. But the reality is your career can always wait. Marriage and family can't.
Let me ask you this. Did you used to be a feminist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have called myself a feminist.
And what was the key event that took you away from feminism?
Meeting my husband.
Right.
I wasn't a diehard feminist, but I probably would have identified as feminist because I didn't know any of the history.
And when you met your husband, he's here with us right now. I wanted to ask, like, when he said anti-feminist ideologies to you, or maybe even brought up those topics, like, what were you thinking about in your head?
I'm way more radicalized than him, actually. He's pretty people are like, "Noah's brainwashed her and she has Stockholm syndrome." And I'm like, I'm more radical than my husband. He's pretty neutral. We had conversations in the beginning of our relationship about Andrew Tate because I hated Andrew Tate at the time. Because all I would see is like TikTok feminists reacting to him. And they would pull out, they would clip farm and pull some of the worst things he said. And I think a lot of young men resonate with Andrew Tate because it's really like one of the only people that's actually standing against this masculinity crisis that we have. And so we had like conversations about Andrew Tate. He would like show me his podcast and be like, this is why I like him, because none of these other soy boys are standing up for masculinity and they're not talking about what's actually going on in the world. So then I started watching his content and I was like, oh, this guy's pretty based.
What do you think most women think of Andrew Tate?
Most of them hate him. One day I posted like a day in the life video on TikTok. We happened to be watching an Andrew Tate interview that night, like sitting on the couch cuddling with our dogs. And I put a clip of us at the end of the night, like cuddling with our dogs, and Andrew Tate was in the background. And the comments were they were awful from women. Like, you married a misogynist husband. Look at you two, like watching Andrew Tate together. How disgusting. That was a great interview. And if people actually watched most people's long form content, they'd be like, oh, I actually like this person.
Do you think any female influencer is a grifter for conservative politics?
A lot of them are.
Why do you feel that way?
Because something always comes out about them sleeping with other men or cheating on their husbands.
Right.
Every single time.
Can you think of a specific example?
So Sarah Stock, for example, who was like a Catholic trad wife influencer. She was dating this guy and they got engaged and then married like 2 months later. Their marriage was blessed by the Pope. The entire time she was sleeping with her boss and told her boyfriend, her fiance, that she was a virgin. And then it came out after they got married.
How would you say your life has changed since you've rejected feminism? Do you feel happier?
Yeah, I feel great. I'm happier than I've ever been. As far as it, like publicly rejecting feminism, that comes with a lot of backlash, obviously. Right. But I enjoy it.
Like, what do you notice you do differently in your day? Or like, have you always kind of felt like you weren't a feminist?
I've never been like a radical feminist. I've never been for transgender ideology. I've never been for LGBTQ. I've never been for abortion. I've always been pro-life. So as far as like a left-wing feminist, no, but I probably would have called myself a feminist as in the idea that men and women are equal and should be treated as such. That's like their textbook definition, and that's what I was taught.
What's the most important moment from your backstory for us to understand why you see the world the way you do?
That's a great question. I mean, I was raised Christian, which I think gave me a really, really strong foundation as to what a biblical woman looks like and what marriage looks like. I was raised by incredible parents who are Christian conservative. And at like 13, I started modeling. And that's what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to model and compete in pageants. I competed in Miss Florida Teen USA 2 years in a row. Got top 15 the first year, second runner-up the second year. At the end of that second year, I was like, if I know I will win if I compete for a third year. This is usually what happens. Like, women will compete a few years, they'll place their first 2 times, and then they get closer to the crown. So I was like, I know I can win next year. We wanted to get married. And if I were to compete again, I couldn't get married as soon as I wanted to because it's MISS, Teen USA. So, and they may have changed the rule. I think now they did. But at the time, I couldn't compete unless I was unmarried. So I was like, do I actually want to do this? I don't know. You can't really be outspoken about conservative views in pageantry either. And at the time, I was starting to post a few things here and there because it was like right after George Floyd. And one of the posts that I put up, I cannot remember exactly what it was. I believe it was after January 6th. And it was something about like, everyone needs Christ right now. Very like basic post. And the organization contacted me and told me to take it down. But all these other contestants were posting left-wing news sources from that, and it was fine.
So after January 6th, you posted, "Everyone needs Christ right now."
Yeah, it was a repost that said everyone needs Christ right now.
And who told you to take it down?
The organization.
And what organization is that?
Miss Florida Teen USA. Wasn't the director, but it was someone that worked underneath them. This was so long ago. So that was one of the things that radicalized me, for sure. I wanted to become more vocal about conservative views, but I'm like, oh, I'm competing again next year. I can't really do that. And then I was 16 or 17 then. I graduated high school early, and I was doing like dual enrollment college classes. And my technically like my senior year before I was gonna graduate, I was told that my final essay was going to be on white privilege, and the white students had to write on why they're privileged and how white privilege has helped them get to where they are, and the black students of color had to write on how white privilege has hurt them, basically. And I said, no, I'm not writing it. And I took a 0 on the final essay.
What was the next important event after that?
It had to do with modeling.
What was the moment that kind of compromised your values working in modeling? Or what was something that you were asked to do in modeling that you said no to?
Yeah, very shortly after Noah and I got married, I was starting to get like bigger jobs, and my agent reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm going to connect you with this producer. They have a really big movie. They want you to be one of the leads. And I was like, awesome. That'll be the biggest role I've gotten. And the producer messaged me, sign an NDA, so I can't say everything, but all of the stars in the movie you would recognize. And it was $1 million pay for a role where I didn't even have to speak that much, really, because I was involved in modeling, not as much acting. So it was like perfect. And I'm reading the role, I'm kind of reading the script, and there's basically a nude scene in one of them. And I was like, how bad is it? That was like my first question. And it was literally just like flashing the top, not like a sex scene. And so I was like, okay, it's not that bad. But one of the rules I always had for myself with modeling and acting was no nudity, no sex scenes, no lingerie. Those were like rules I had for myself since I was 13. So I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, it's $1 million. Like, that could really put me on the map. Like, this movie will really put me on the map. We had conversations about it. And obviously he was like, no. But then, like, obviously the temptation was there to do that. And I ended up responding back to the producer and I was like, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm married and this also goes against my morals and values. And he responded back and was like, this is a really big opportunity and I can't believe you're turning it down. And he was like, it's literally just like you flashing your top. It's not that bad. I'm like, if my father can't watch something that I do for work, I'm not doing it.
Do you think there's a chance that you would have taken that opportunity if you weren't married or if you weren't in a relationship?
Mm-hmm. There would be a chance. But again, I think every daughter has the fear of disappointing her dad. And that was something I also thought about. Like, it doesn't matter if his daughter's a millionaire if her boobs are out for the world to see. So I would have had that fear. So I probably would have said no, but there's a chance.
Do you think single women are just more vulnerable in general to do things related to sex work or any kind of nudity or paid showing of their bodies?
Yeah, especially if they have a poor relationship with their dad. Because I know many single women who have very, very strong relationships with their dad. That's kind of like, that's their provider and protector. But when you have none of that and it's just you, yes, you are more susceptible to things like that. Because number one, money. Number two, you don't really have any sort of moral guidance. And so any opportunity that comes your way, if this male producer or male director is telling you, hey, it's really going to like boost your career, you're going to take off, you're going to make all this money, then as a single woman, I'm sure, yeah, you're more vulnerable to choosing that.
And like psychologically speaking, can you break down for me like why you think that is? Is it just in your view, do women want to listen to a man? And if a guy's telling them to do one thing and they don't have a boyfriend, husband, father to kind of be a counter to that, they just go to that opinion? Like, what do you think it is?
Yeah, I think that they're kind of lured in emotionally. So when producers say things like, this will make you so much money, like, just trust me, um, your career will take off after this, and then they have no other male authority to kind of check that, then they're more vulnerable.
What do you think is a bigger problem, women being faithless or single?
Faithless, for sure.
Break that down for me.
If you have no faith, you have no morals. So you could say yes to anything, because where do your morals lie if you don't have any sort of foundation? I think being single is one thing. Okay, like, you don't have a husband, it's okay.
I guess which do you think makes you more vulnerable?
In the terms of safety, being single. In terms of compromising on your moral values, being faithless.
So you said you started modeling at 13?
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, do you think your parents made the right call letting you do that?
Yeah, that was something that I always wanted to do, that I talked about as a kid, and they wouldn't put me in it as a child. But then I signed with an agency at 13, maybe I was almost 14, something like that. But, like, my mom and I always had discussions, and she was number one, like, "If you ever let this get to your head and you get a big ego, you're quitting. You're never doing lingerie or nude scenes, like, never compromise on your values, because there will be people in this industry that try to manipulate you into doing those things, like, just stand on your values." And I had a really great relationship with God, like, my entire life pretty much. My parents were never super strict on me. They were always just like, "Here's what we do as a family. This is who we worship, and you can decide." And so from the age of, like, 13, I was up at 5 a.m. reading my Bible every morning, because it was never, like, this pressure on me. It was always like, "This is what we do. You're gonna do it as well, but we're not gonna force it on you."
On the modeling portion, I really want to understand this because I think we've had some conversations about this. Maybe this is just ignorant man of me, but like, why does modeling exist? Like, do you think it's like a net positive for society? Like, do you think it's positive in nature or more negative in nature? Because when I think about a lot of the stories I hear from women, it seems
Mhm.
negative. But I'm curious of your views.
I think now it's been like, now Instagram modeling is also called modeling, and OnlyFans girls are also called models. And so what is actually modeling in 2026? I don't know. Now influencers are models too. Like, in the early 2000s, you were 5'11" and you were walking for Victoria's Secret and Fendi and Gucci, and you were getting paid a lot of money. But the majority of women who go into the modeling industry don't end up like that. They usually do it part-time, it's like a side hustle, or they're told they have to, like, do nude shoots or lingerie shoots in order to make it into the industry. So, I don't think it's necessarily good for women's mental health. I was told multiple times I needed to lose weight, um, at the age of 14 and 15. So, that's not good for our teenagers' mental health. I I don't think anyone under the age of 18 should be modeling, especially in 2026. Um, Even, like, for kids' clothes, just with the Epstein files coming out now, I don't know why we need kids anywhere for people to look at. I wouldn't want my kids modeling or on social media at all.
What's the darkest thing you witnessed on a modeling set that you haven't talked about publicly?
I wasn't involved in it. I was actually on the stage at the time, but backstage, a lot of women were, like, getting changed and everything into their gowns to model. It was like a runway show. And this man who worked on the set was back there taking photos, and no one realized it until day 6 of our shows. And he wasn't supposed to be back there either. But one of the models ended up catching him, and she was underage too. and like went to the owner of the brand and was like, hey, he's taking photos. They didn't really do anything about it. He was still allowed on set. They just moved him to the front instead of backstage. That happens a lot where men are allowed backstage or they're like back there where the women are changing and they're zipping dresses and the women aren't really protected at all. Nothing really happens. I've heard way darker stories from women that I know personally in the modeling industry, but that's one of them that I witnessed.
I just wonder how it makes money. Like, do people pay to go to modeling shows? Like, I think I'm referring specifically to runway here. Like, I know there's brands that sponsor these shows and show off their fashion, but like when I think of like a swimwear modeling runway or something along those lines, like Victoria's Secret Angels, like
Yeah.
what is that? Like, how does it make money? Like, do men pay to go see that?
A runway doesn't make a ton unless you're like a Kendall Jenner or Gigi Hadid who get like $50K to walk a runway.
I guess the brands themselves.
How do they make money?
Yeah, like the people organizing this whole thing.
So the runway is basically like a marketing for your brand. So if they're getting video and photo of women on the runway in their clothing, then it sells to the consumer.
That makes sense.
It's basically just another form of marketing that's not on social media.
Yeah.
It still ends up on social media, but it's like a real life event.
Yeah, I think I just have this assumption that it's creepy for some reason because like the founder of Victoria's Secret or whatever was like good friends with Epstein. Apparently, like a lot
Yeah.
of those angels were like on the island or something. But I'm just curious from your view, like, is it actually like that? Like, are there a lot of weird guys in it, or was it pretty normal?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird people in it. There's not one model that I've talked to that has had all good experiences.
What are some other horror stories you've heard?
Not ones I can share for the privacy of the girls. Mainly having to do with weird men. That's usually always the case.
Are women ever weird?
Not in my experience, but they'll comment on your body.
Do you think women should change for the men they're with?
I think naturally they do. And yes, they should. Women in today's society were like seen as the prize and that we're perfect just the way we are. And if a man tells you to change or asks you to change anything, then he's controlling or his standards are too high. And I disagree with that. I think to be in a healthy relationship is to be able to take constructive criticism and figure out how you can be a better girlfriend, wife to your husband or boyfriend. Because men do it all the time. Men will change certain things for their women because all they desire to do is to make their woman happy. But it seems like when women are asked to change certain things, it becomes, well, I'm perfect just the way I am. And if you don't like that, then you can leave. And that sort of attitude of entitlement will get you nowhere because you're never going to be 100% perfect, period. Like, even as an individual, there may be things that you have to work on or change. But if you always view yourself as I'm perfect just the way I am and this is how I am, you'll never grow. And you'll never be able to see your flaws in a relationship either.
What are some things that you changed for your husband?
The first thing was like I was extremely emotionally unavailable. Like not vulnerable whatsoever. We had conversations about that.
You were?
I was not, no. Another thing was just learning how to be a really good wife because it's not taught in school. It's something you kind of have to figure out on your own. What does that look like? What does it look like to respect my husband? What does it look like to encourage him? What does it look like to make him look good in public? Those were all things that I had to teach myself because, unfortunately, I don't think many women are taught that by their mothers or grandmothers. And then you go through school and social media and university, and it's not talked about at all.
Is that something you're saying you had to learn it yourself, or it's something he kind of showed you? Like, what's the best approach there?
Both. I mean, like, we talk a lot about what we need from each other, but I'm like, I'm someone who, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in and be the best at it. So if I'm going to be a wife, like, I'm going to be the best wife I could be. Otherwise, I don't see the point. So I would just like read books about it or just like watch different videos from older women who've been wives for like 30, 40 years and see what they said. A lot of their advice is extremely countercultural. So you can't just go on social media and look up on TikTok, how do I be a good wife? because it's not going to give you anything. You kind of have to like go outside the box and research it for yourself. Same thing with men. I think they're not necessarily taught how to be good husbands either by anyone. So then they have to figure out that on their own as well.
What are some of the most controversial rules in your marriage?
He makes the decisions for our household. I do the laundry. I don't let him touch the laundry. I don't get upset if he leaves a sock on the floor. Like, I just pick it up. Just very basic things. I respect him and I submit to him, and he leads. Very, very healthy things. But as soon as you use the word like you ought to respect and submit to your husband, that sends women into orbit. They just get so upset about those words, when really it just means trusting him to make a good decision. Because if two heads are the same, if you're both the leader, there's really no reason for the other one.
What do you mean when you say a woman should submit to her husband?
Biblically speaking, when you're married, you're under the same mission because you're one flesh, and God has given you a specific mission as a married couple. So if the man that you're looking for, the man that you want to marry, has a big job in the city, and you want a quiet little life on a farm with acres and animals and whatever, you can't compromise on that. Like, if you're going to resent that man because you can't have that life, that's not the person you're supposed to be with. Because you can't try to drag him down out of his career in order to get what you want. But then if that's what your heart is set on, then you're going to resent him. So basically, there has to be conversation beforehand of what are our goals? What's our mission? Are we aligned on this? Then once you're married, submission is submitting to that mission. It's going under the mission of God, which God has placed on the husband, and the husband leads the wife.
Can you tell me about a situation where you maybe had a disagreement with your husband or had a conversation where you ultimately submitted to what he believed was the right move to the mission?
Yeah, I actually get this DM a lot about, like, a woman will be like, hey, my husband got this new job in this city, but I don't want to move there. And I refuse to move there. Like, I'm not letting him do it. There's been probably 2 examples now of this. Not so much moving to Arizona because I love it in Scottsdale, and I was like, yay, let's move. But when we first got married, we lived in Jacksonville, Florida for like 6 months. I started a makeup artistry business there. That's what I was doing from the time we were dating to like the first 6 months of our marriage. And it was going really well. Like, it was pretty successful. I had built my client list up, and he was working remote at the time, so we could basically move anywhere. And that kind of went downhill really quickly. That job that he was currently in, he got an opportunity back in our hometown, and like nothing in me wanted to move back there because I'd started this business here and it was really successful, and I just moved out of my hometown, and I was like, I'm not going back. And I would even pray things like, God, show him that I'm right and that we shouldn't move. But like, in the end, he hated his career that he was in. He got a much better opportunity back in our hometown. And so ultimately I was like, okay, I just need to trust him. And moving back home was the best thing we ever did because I would have never started social media. It made our life better. Like, we found better friends there. We found better community. His job that he was working at the time like led to way better things that we're doing now. So if that sequence of events hadn't happened, like, I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't have been in Arizona. There's several things that wouldn't have played out the way that they did. So ultimately, like, I see God's hand in that. But that was something I was resistant to, was moving back.
Do you think couples should prioritize making the woman happy in the relationship or making the man happy? Quick one. Something a lot of people ask me is, Jack, how do you stay focused during these 2-3 hour interviews with guests? And sure, a lot of people assume it's caffeine, nicotine, some other type of stimulant, but the main thing that really helps me stay focused is methylene blue. And I know this sounds crazy because it was a literal blue dye invented in 1876, but scientists also realized that it had great effects on your cognitive function and energy levels. But the reason you haven't heard of it is because it's too old to patent methylene blue, meaning Big Pharma can't make any money off of it, so they just act like it doesn't exist. But after using it myself for over 1.5 years now, I can genuinely tell you it's one of the few things I take that increases my focus and energy levels throughout the day while having little to no side effects. And after trying all the different companies that make methylene blue and even building my own brand around it, I can tell you that the best one is Earth Harmony Ultimate Methylene Blue. You just put a few drops under your tongue and it works in 30 minutes or so. And if you apply it incorrectly, your tongue kind of looks like this. So usually I just take the capsule format and I found it to be more effective and I don't have to worry about it staining my teeth. So if you guys want to try it out, just go to jackneel.com/blue or scan the QR code on screen. Just make sure to use the code JackNeel for 20% off your first order. Again, that is jackneel.com/blue if you want your brain to actually work again. Anyway, guys, back to the podcast. Do you think couples should prioritize making the woman happy in the relationship or making the man happy?
Well, there's that saying, happy wife, happy life, that's been passed down from generation to generation. It's like the most damaging phrase we've ever told young men, right? That you should do whatever it takes to make your wife happy. Because if the women, if everything's about their short-term happiness, then long-term, you're kind of going to be screwed. Because women are thinking more emotionally most of the time and not logically. We're thinking shorter term and not longer term. So like I pretty much only see the next 3 months. He sees the next 5 years. And so if everything is about my immediate happiness and what I want, well, then he's sacrificing for our future and for like the future of our family. And so if the man is just doing everything that makes the woman happy at that point in time, well, then he's giving his leadership over to the woman. That ultimately makes her the head of the household. And that puts him in sort of this servant position where he's like bowing down to the queen. And that will never work. A man will always resent that.
So I guess if your husband was like, let's go worship a statue of a golden calf, how would you respond?
So biblically, a wife is only submit to a man who is following God. So if he is leading you to do something that is outside of what God says, then you are not to submit to him. Which is why it's so important for married couples to be equally yoked. Like they both need to be Christian. Because if the woman is Christian and the man is not, well then she can't submit to him and respect him, because he's not going to be leading her down the same path that a Christian man would.
What's something else you do in your marriage that most people would have a problem with?
Have a problem with? I never say no to sex.
Break that down for me. Do you think most women say no to sex?
Oh, there's like a whole joke about it on the internet where they're like, when I told him tonight was his lucky night, but I'm already in my pajamas and face mask or whatever. And then women are in the comments like, haha, yeah, I told him 2 weeks ago, still hasn't been his lucky night. And I'm like, why do you think men go and cheat on you? Why do you think they watch porn while they're married? Not saying that's for every case, but like, he's got a wife at home for a reason, and women just refuse it. And they don't really see it as a foundational part of their marriage, but it is. It's like the oxygen of your marriage.
Why do you think that's such a problem though now?
Oh, there's so many reasons. Number one, like women's libido is seriously suffering. Like their hormones are really out of whack. So there's like the health aspect to it. Number two, they don't see it as a duty in their marriage. They kind of see it as optional. And then they'll just be like, yeah, you're obsessed with sex. You're porn brained or whatever. That's what they say to their husbands. So there's like the health physical aspect, but then there's also the mental aspect of, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. Like if I just don't feel like it, then I'm not going to do it. But do you think that your husband wakes up every single morning saying, man, I really don't feel like going to work today, so I'm just not going to go. I'm just not going to show up.
Do you think men should divorce their wife if they refuse to have sex with them
Yes.
regularly?
It's in Ephesians. Paul wrote it, do not deprive one another unless it is for a certain amount of time so that you can devote yourselves to prayer and fasting and you both have to agree on it. Christian women always get upset when I talk about sex in marriage as if it's not like very biblical. Like if I say like, it's kind of like your duty in marriage, they will throw a fit, even Christian women. And then you throw them the verse and they're like, well, that's out of context. That's not what that actually means. And I'm like, yeah, that's what that actually means. It means don't deprive your husband of sex.
What do you think men deprive women of in relationships these days?
feeling safe and confident. And like this kind of goes back to the porn thing. If a man in a relationship is watching porn or following a bunch of Instagram models or liking a bunch of like provocative pictures, that woman is never going to feel safe with you because you're comparing her without you even knowing it. She's going to feel compared to all these other women that you're lusting after and watching. She'll never feel safe with you or confident. I actually put up a question box on my Instagram story and I was like, what is the number one question that women are dealing with when it comes to dating men? The majority answer was that they watch porn and follow other chicks on Instagram. That was their biggest issue. Says a lot.
Do you see that as a result of men's lack of discipline or women not providing something in those relationships?
So as far as like single men or dating men, that's a lack of discipline. But in marriages, if you're being deprived of sex, it's both. It's still infidelity, right? But if a man is not getting sex from his wife, he's going to be tempted to find it elsewhere. I don't know why we're not honest about that. That makes perfect sense to me. If his desires are not being met, then yeah, he will be tempted to look elsewhere for those desires. It's the same thing with women. That's why women, if they're not getting their emotional needs met, they'll be tempted to form an entirely different relationship with another man who they feel validated by.
So you said something along the lines of like men are craving peace in a relationship and they're also craving like sex and love, I suppose. Like, what do you think women are craving?
Safety, stability, protection, and provision.
What do you think broken women are craving in most relationships?
I would say the same thing, but they're looking for that stability in finances. Or it's like it's all outer appearance. Like, okay, if you look like Morgan Wallen, I want to date you. And it's like a guy who lives with 4 other guys in an apartment who could like never provide for you. So I just think a lot of women are looking for the wrong things. When in reality, like morals and values is what's going to build your relationship, not if they're 6 foot tall and with a six pack.
That's an interesting one. What does the comment section look like of a happily married woman?
I hope you get divorced in 20 years. Talk to me in 5 years. Your husband is gay. I hope he cheats on you. I found his Grindr account. You brainwashed bimbo.
What do your DMs look like?
Shut up, stupid bitch. You're brainwashed. Your husband has oppressed you. I hope you get your rights taken away. Why are you speaking if you hate feminism? Your husband's gay. Oh, and kill yourself.
You know, that's actually a fair question. Why are you speaking if you hate feminism?
Well, they say that, like, I wouldn't have the right to speak without feminism, but there was public speakers far before feminism. How do you think the original feminists got their message out? They were flown across the world to speak at different events, and they actually got paid to speak at those events, those pro-suffrage movement events. So this is what I mean by women are not well-versed in feminist thought. They just regurgitate whatever they see or hear. So I will get the same comment. That's, why are you speaking if you're against feminism? 100 times a day from different women. And I can tell, like, you guys you see this on the internet, and so you regurgitate the same thing over and over again. But that's not what gives me the right to speak.
I feel so passionately about this topic because you talked about the concept of submission and it being that a woman should submit to a man's mission, which is ultimately God's mission. Like, what is the mission of your marriage, I guess? And how does your online presence play into that mission?
Yeah, so we're both really passionate about bringing back masculinity and femininity into society, and I believe feminism has destroyed that single-handedly. So I have to destroy the entire feminist ideology in order to bring back what is good and true and beautiful. And female voters are ruining our society as we speak. They vote for policies that ultimately harm women. They vote for illegal immigrants to come in and murder and rape our women. They vote for young females to be killed in the womb. They vote for men to be in women's bathrooms and sports. They vote for policies like DEI that ultimately harm women. So what are feminists protecting?
I think something a lot of people might be confused about on the hate portion is they would assume that you're getting these hate comments from men. Would you say that it's mostly from men?
I get no hate from men.
Interesting.
I mean, maybe a few soy boy male influencers, but no, all my hate's from women.
Do you think single women keep women single?
Single women seem to be the most opinionated about dating and male-female dynamics. And if you're listening to someone who is single about dating advice, yeah, you're going to also be single because there's a reason that it's a single woman.
Do you have any girlfriends that are single?
I had to think for a second. No.
Do you think women should have female friends in general?
Yeah, good female friends. Yeah, I think it's actually really important to have women in your life that'll hold you accountable because accountability is really lacking amongst women. So you need good, strong friends with good moral values who are not only there as like wise counsel, but also to hold you accountable.
Is there a reason that you don't have single female friends?
My best friend was single for a while. She like just got into a committed relationship.
Right.
So it's not on purpose. I think a lot of times too, if I meet a woman, then like Noah becomes friends with her boyfriend or husband and then vice versa. So like all the couples are just kind of hanging out together, which is awesome. I think as a married couple, you also need other married couples in your life that you can be around, like good ones with values. So yeah, it's definitely not on purpose.
Right. I guess I'm just thinking, like, would there be any negative consequence of having single female friends?
It really just depends on their values.
Right.
Would I go out to a club with a bunch of single women as a married woman? No. I wouldn't put myself in that situation. But again, like the women that I choose to be in my circle have really strong values. They respect my marriage. And yeah, I think it's less to do with their relationship status and more to do with who they are as a person.
Do you think men and women can just be friends?
No. No, usually one always ends up falling for the other if they're both single, and then you kinda got this awkward dynamic of, like, the guy falling for the girl and then her being like, "Ah, I thought we were just friends, so now we can't really be friends anymore." With Noah and I, like, as a married couple, we have friends of the opposite sex of either of us, but they're both of our friends. Like, we're always together all the time. So, if you're gonna be friends with me, you also have to like Noah, and if you like Noah, you also have to like me.
Yeah, it's pretty hard for couples these days to find friends because they usually need to be in relationships for the dynamic to make sense. And they have to have that set of values that you're speaking of. How soon can women tell if a guy is husband material?
I think both can tell really quickly.
Yeah.
I think men know very, very quickly, and like women, they overthink a little bit. We overthink a little bit, but I think ultimately we know really quick.
How long did it take you?
2 weeks. Actually, like the first day that I walked into the gym and met him, I was like, I'm gonna marry this guy, like before I even talked to him. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, yeah, for sure.
Why were you able to tell so quickly, and like what were the factors? Do you think it's a feeling thing? Do you think it's a spiritual thing? Do you think it's a like this logically makes sense?
Walking into the gym when I first saw him and like thinking in my head, this will be my husband, was probably like either spiritual or feelings, kind of hard to decipher. But we had all of the conversations that aligned us very early on. So politics, religion, sex, kids, money. All of those within the first 2 weeks of knowing each other. And I think when you can intentionally have those conversations about, okay, I'm not just dating you to go on dates and get free dinner or whatever. I'm trying to figure out who you are as a person, because if we don't align, there's no reason to continue this. Like, I'm in this to be in a committed relationship and ultimately marriage. So if we don't align in religious views, sorry, it's not going to work.
So I guess for a single woman or for a girl on a date with a guy, if you had to make sure that she asked 5 questions to see if the man was husband material, what would those 5 questions be?
Men will actually say more than women will most of the time. You just kind of have to listen to them and pick up on it. He asked me more questions than I asked him, but I would pick up things from what he would say. So, like, if you just let men talk, they will be very vulnerable with you, and, like, eventually you'll figure out who they are as a person. But as far as those 5 categories, if you were to ask a question, uh, what is your political stance on abortion, on transgenderism, on LGBTQ, on feminism, on illegal immigration? Figure that out. It's really not left and right anymore because we're all messed up. No one really leans either way. We just kind of have different political views. Religious views. What religion are you? What religion did you grow up in? What church do you go to? Do you go to church? Do you believe in God? Money. So I think how much money do you make is a perfectly fine question to ask within 2 weeks or whatever, or a month, few dates. What is your job? Where do you want to go? Do you want like a small country life, or do you want to be a multimillionaire? Sex. So like body count and what that dynamic looks like past partners, and then kids. How many kids do you want? Is it 7 or 2? Like, can we come up with a compromise? Or are you set on 7 kids?
So you asked him how much money he made.
Mhm.
Like how much money he had total, or just like how much he was making?
At some point, I asked him how much money he made.
Huh. That's interesting.
I was also making money at the time, so, like, we both had that conversation.
That feels like an important question to me if I were a woman to ask how much money you make. It kind of feels like the equivalent of what's your body count for a man. It's like
Yeah.
something that people have an issue with, but it's still important. That's interesting. Like, how did you ask it? Did you just point blank how much
I
money are
think
you
I was
making?
just straight up like, "How much money do you make?" The women that get upset about the "What's your body count?" question are the ones with the highest body counts who don't even know what the number it is. So that's why they get upset about that question. But then they'll be like, "Yeah, I would totally ask a man how much money he makes." It's kind of the equivalent. It's not a super comfortable question, but it's important.
I was just thinking it would be pretty funny to, like, you see those male podcasts, like whatever podcast or Fresh and Fit,
Mhm.
where they ask all the girls, like, what's your body count? Like, I'd love to see like a female hosted podcast where they just ask all the guys, like, how much money do you have in your bank account right now? That'd
Oh,
be
yeah, they
pretty
would all
interesting.
lie. Did the girls lie too? They're like, "I don't know."
Of those questions, though, like, what do you think is number one most important? What's the one trait a man can have that will guarantee a successful marriage for a woman looking to date him or marry him?
That, like, protector provider mindset. So I looked for things, like very simple things, like, does he walk on the outside of the sidewalk when I'm walking? What does he do when, like, a guy's staring me down at the gas station? Like, there was, like, weird situations we had at gas stations where he would very willingly, like, go and confront someone if needed be. Like, some guy, like, came up to my car window while I was sitting in the car, like, knocking on the window. He, like, shoved him out of the way. If you're, like, a soy boy, you're like, "Let me get in the car, let's drive away, like, he's scary," or whatever. No. So, protection, work ethic goes along with that as far as the provider protector mindset. So, instead of looking at, like, the money question is important, but, like, instead of focusing on the bank account and how much is in it, what's his work ethic like? Is that money inherited? Like, is it family money, or did he work his ass off and make that? And is he still working hard? Because that's gonna determine what your family life looks like later.
Do you think women who want to spend 50K on their wedding are ready for marriage?
I think it's all a show. It's a social media competition. If you've got the money to spend on a wedding, like you just have disposable income or what crazy family money, knock yourself out. But I think going into debt, that much debt for a wedding, and then you're starting off a marriage with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, it's not a good idea. Like it puts you guys straight into stress as soon as you start marriage. And let's say that both of you have student loans as well that are 200K a piece, and then you add $100,000 of wedding debt. It's not a good idea. And if you actually asked women, like, would you still marry this guy without a wedding? They'd probably be like, no, I'd wait till we could have a wedding 3 years later. Because it truly is what looks good on social media.
Right.
And if there was no social media, would as many women have these super elaborate weddings? I don't think so.
Savannah, you got married at 18 years old. Did you sign a prenup?
No,
No?
I did not. I don't have a super strong opinion on prenups. I can see them being very useful in situations, especially if, like, you're an NFL player and you're getting married. Like, I would totally, if I was in the position, I would get a prenup. But they also protect you, like, if one of us were to, God forbid, die somehow, it does protect the other person. So there's a lot of different reasons for prenups. We didn't get one because we were like, everything was so last minute and thrown together. I didn't even think about that.
How long were you guys dating before you got married?
A year.
Did you have a big wedding?
No, we actually got engaged on a Tuesday, married that Saturday in a church. It was just my parents, his parents, a couple friends, and our siblings. Sort of like a micro wedding, but no rehearsal dinner afterwards, or sorry, rehearsal dinner before reception. It was just like 20-minute ceremony. That was it.
Do you think the price of an engagement ring matters?
No.
Genuinely?
If he got like a $10 Amazon ring, yeah, that's probably an issue. But also, there's a lot of weird stuff with. I don't know if you've looked into the diamond industry.
Right.
I like the difference between lab grown and like a real diamond is not that different. I think a lot of it is like, yeah, my husband spent $100,000 on my ring, so he's better than you.
A lot of people say 3 months' salary is the rule for that. I think that was a marketing campaign by, maybe it was K Jewelers, that a man should spend 3 months' salary for like a happy marriage on his engagement ring.
Yeah, I don't see what that has to do with anything.
Do you think that's too much?
Yeah, if he's making $100K a month, you expect him to spend $300K on a ring? That's wild.
So like $100 is good?
$100?
You said
No,
$10.
okay, so I think it should be somewhat sacrificial and somewhat like this is a form of this is like should be your nicest piece of jewelry and you should be proud of it, but I think if you look at like the difference between a 3-carat lab-grown diamond versus a real diamond, there's not much of a difference other than price. Lab-grown is still somewhat expensive. It's still kind of a sacrifice. But do I think it's necessary? No. Especially not the 3-month salary thing.
Do you think Looksmaxxers are husband material?
What kind of question is this?
It's a very real question right now.
I'm not really in the Looksmaxxer space on social media. I don't know much about it other than
It's like the
don't
number
some of
one
them do
trend
meth?
among. Yeah. One used to do meth, but when I went to Miami, like these guys are so famous now, and like all the kids that are 16, 17, 18 years old are talking about Looksmaxxing, taking different peptides. Like, do you think caring about how you look as a man is like a sign that someone could be a good husband?
Some of it's a little gay, but I think attraction, like physical attraction, is really important on both men and women's sides. So do you have to be breaking your jaw with a hammer and doing meth? No, but like go to the gym, build some muscle, eat right, take care of yourself. I feel like people could do really general things and look great. But a lot of them don't have the discipline to do even the basic things.
I guess would it be negative in your head if you found out the guy you were with was taking peptides?
No, we take peptides. They're great.
How about like anabolic steroids?
What is that like? Is that like testosterone or where?
Yeah, TRT could work as like. What if a guy is taking testosterone?
No, that wouldn't bother me. I've also been lifting for like 7 years, so like bodybuilders and guys who lift will get to a point where they're like, I kind of have to hop on TRT to gain more muscle. Or if you're doing meth, that's a deal breaker for me, or like smashing your face. Yeah. But I think the peptides, taking care of yourself, going to the gym, eating super clean, doing all the biohacking, like we do all that. Because I'm also very much like the whole divorce effect trend on social media where women and men get divorced and then after that they get snatched and they look great. It's like maybe if you did that in your marriage, you wouldn't have gotten divorced. Like maybe you guys would have been attracted to each other and actually wanted to have sex. I think it's important to remain attractive. Yeah, because women will say, he's going to leave you in 10 years for a
Mm,
younger woman. So I'm like, well, what if I just make him fat so he can't leave? Like, he can't run away.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, I was totally trolling.
That's interesting. If a 20-year-old girl came to you today and said, I want to prioritize marriage and family over my career, what would you tell her versus what do you think society would tell her?
I would tell her not to go to college and get into six figures of debt for a career that she may not even want, where she's going to be making like 50K a year and sitting at an office all day. However, single women do have to make money, or you can't really survive in today's economy unless you're still living at home. So pick something that you're passionate about that you can make a little money off of, and then focus on things like, are you putting yourself out there to find good men? Or are you kind of a hermit that scrolls on TikTok all day? Are you reading books or are you consuming brain rot? How are you dressing? How do you speak? What are your communication skills? Can we maybe go to the gym and like work on our appearance a little bit? Those sort of things. That's what women should be focusing on who are like, I want to find a husband.
Mm.
But instead, they're scrolling on TikTok all day and taking college classes and dyeing their hair blue.
And what do you think society tells them to focus on?
Their education and their career. But there's this weird paradox of being overly educated where it seems like the more degrees these women have, the more classes they take, the less simple things they're actually able to define. Like, what is a woman? Or what is a man? Or, like, my grandma didn't need to have any theory on relationships. She didn't need to have a manual for how to be a good wife. She just knew instinctively.
Do you think education is really education?
No. No, it's indoctrination. Because tell me why my grandmother, who didn't even go to school, barely graduated high school, can define all those things perfectly and understand what's going on in today's world without any of that.
Like in terms of what women should be educated on, like in your view, do you think the most important thing a woman can do is get married and have kids?
In the beginning of her life, yeah. It's kind of flip-flopped. We've told women to spend their most fertile years going to school and working and climbing the corporate ladder. And then once they get into their 30s, then maybe consider a husband and kids. Okay, let's say you're 27 and you're finally done with school and you've got a career. How long is it going to take you to find a husband? How long do you want to date before you get engaged? Okay, and then you have the engagement period, and then you're planning a wedding, and then you have the wedding. Well, maybe you want to spend 2 or 3 years married before you have kids. By that time, you're like 35, and your chances of having children drop significantly. So, if we were to flip-flop it and say, why don't you prioritize finding a husband and having kids in your early 20s? And then if you want to go to school afterwards, go to school. If you have kids young, once you're in your 40s, they're adults, like they're grown kids, and then you have all the time in the world to focus on whatever you want to do.
I'm curious of this one from your view. So we had a famous divorce lawyer, James Sexton, on the podcast, and he noted that the number one occupation of women that divorce their husbands is housewives,
Mm-hmm.
homemakers. Why do you think that is?
I think that they don't have like their own passions, and so they get bored, but then they'll blame the fact that they're bored on the marriage because 70 to 80% of women file for divorce. And the number one reason is not he cheated on me or he abused me. It's I'm bored and I'm not happy anymore. That's the number one reason. So, yeah, if you are sitting in the house all day bored and you have nothing to do and nothing that you're passionate about, but then you're blaming it on your marriage, it's kind of like, well, is it the marriage's fault? Like, is it your husband's fault? Or are you just bored at home and not doing anything?
Why do you think women are so bored in these relationships?
I think they compare their relationships. Like, if you're scrolling on social media all day or watching romance movies and you have this idea in your head of what a relationship is supposed to look like, and you think it's going to be this easy thing where your husband is your servant and you're this queen put on a pedestal and he does everything for you. It's like, that's not really the reality.
Mm.
Both parties kind of have to work together to make it work. It's not the easiest thing in the world. So with like the hard work that comes with a marriage, maybe they think the romance dies a little bit. Or there's a statistic that I think 85% of women gain 20 to 30 pounds within 2 years of marriage. So it's like once they get married, it's like, okay, cool, I'm done. I don't really have to work as hard for it anymore. So it almost takes the romance and the chase out of it, right? Where if you're no longer prioritizing yourself, what you look like, how you speak, then I think both of you are going to get bored because the husband's no longer going to be like super attracted to you. You're not going to feel as sexy. Then the romance kind of dies.
Yeah, the boredom concept's an interesting one because I think about like all these men wanting to be hyper successful, and like Alex Hormozy, I guess we've had on the podcast, he has broken this down into like two relationship dynamics that he thinks works, and that is the cheerleader uh, quarterback dynamic, in which you could basically compare it to the hyper successful guy versus the stay at home mom, and then there's the quarterback wide receiver dynamic, which is we're building this thing together. I guess I just don't think the cheerleader quarterback dynamic seems realistic based on the divorce statistic of stay-at-home moms or homemakers. Like, but it also seems like a problem of just people trying to be hyper successful in general. It's like, how can a hyper successful guy date a woman who's not building the thing with him and her not be bored? Do you kind of know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that you have to build together. Like the woman, it's almost like emotional bids where if a man comes home from work and a woman has absolutely no idea what he does for work, never ask any questions, then when he comes home and like tries to talk about it, if she doesn't want to or she kind of shuts him down, well, that's an outward emotional bid where you're shutting down what he's interested in. So it's interesting to me when women are like, I don't even know what he does for work. And I'm like, you don't ask him? Like, is that not a conversation that you guys have? I think that in order for a marriage to be really fruitful and in order for you to have like that dynamic where you are a team, basically, maybe one is the one building, but then you're kind of behind him and supporting him. I think that's a way for you not to get bored and be a part of the mission.
It seems like a scam in of itself for men to be working so hard. Like, I know that it's everyone's choice, but for men to be working so hard and dating a woman that's not working with them, like, it just seems like a recipe for unhappiness to me. Like, it seems like the man should take a step back or choose a woman that's building with him.
Or somehow involve her.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women just want to be housewives and have a man pay for everything. Do you think those are happy marriages?
Well, so there's two different dynamics with that. There's like the housewife who is like a true housewife and works just as hard in a different way. Or there's this like glamorized version of on social media of like the stay-at-home girlfriend dynamic where she just goes to Pilates and gets matcha and drives her Porsche around and comes back home and sleeps and does nothing all day. That is not realistic. That one will lead to boredom and unhappiness. The second dynamic, and I know a lot of people that have this dynamic, is the husband works really hard, but the wife they have 5 kids and she's homeschooling them all day. That's building as a team because the husband is providing a way for her to teach her own kids instead of sending them into a school where the institution is going to raise them.
So traditionally speaking, it would have been a dynamic where the woman maybe had more responsibilities at the home, more children to raise, and I guess busier overall. And the man would be equally busy just on the work front. So it's a really complex issue because it seems like in today's day and age that women can get financial resources very easily if they're fairly attractive, because so many men are just willing to give it. And there's so many wealthy men. When there are guys willing to give women money and don't expect a lot of them, like, it kind of messes up the dating market as well. You talked about if you had single friends, you wouldn't go to a club with them. Do you think a married woman should go see men at concerts?
No. I mean, like, no, I'm sure Noah we don't even really go to concerts, I think they're gay. Noah and I would maybe go to, like, see a male country music artist together. But what I see on social media is, like, these women going to Riley Green concerts and then posting that they shaved their legs for this, just in case. And I'll go to their page, and it's a married woman who's pregnant or has, like, 3 kids.
What do you think is
That's
like
kind
the
of
core issue there? Like, do you think it feels disloyal in some way to
yeah.
watch a man and watch him perform? Like, is that
Female lust is romanticized, but male lust is demonized. So women can openly, like, lust over a male celebrity on social media with no one saying anything about it. But imagine a man went to, like, a Tate McRae concert and videoed it and said, "I shaved my balls just for this, just for Tate McRae," and you go on his profile and he's got a wife and kids. What do you think the reaction to that would be? Like, all the feminists and all women would be like, "What are you doing? You have a wife, bro. Like, I'm sending this to your wife." But on the other hand, the women can do it with no backlash.
I want some viewer of this podcast to try that out. Comment. I just shaved my balls for this concert. That's really funny, actually. Interesting. Do you think married women should be watching male influencers?
Thirst traps, no. But I follow, like, you and Chris Griffin and some other, like, thought leaders. In our kind of dynamic with social media is he follows some women and I follow some men that we know, and we don't make that a problem in our relationship. And there's no issues because we trust each other fully. And if he wanted to log into my Instagram, he could, and I really wouldn't care. But we also, he's not following OnlyFans girls, and I don't follow, like, thirst trappy men. I don't see the purpose.
Yeah, it's hard because there's not a real equivalent there. I mean, maybe there are some thirst trappy men. I guess
I don't ever see them, so yeah, I can't figure out.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think married women should be going on girls' trips? Or do you think women should be having bachelorette parties?
It depends on who you're going with, fully. Like, if you're going on a girls' trip where all of the women are degenerate, then yeah, no, it's probably not gonna be a good place for you. Like, I have a really good friend who's married who went to a bachelorette trip, I think sometime last year, and she only knew 2 of the girls that were going on the trip, and she was texting me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you were so right about how badly women talk about their husbands. They're all at a bar right now flirting with other men, talking shit about their husbands." And she left a day early. She, like, flew back home. And I was like, "Yeah, classic example of why you have to be so picky with the women that you go out with or go on trips with."
Do you think those women are typically in happy relationships and there's something about women going on a trip together and one person doesn't, and there's like this herd mentality? Like, what do you think that is?
It's definitely a herd mentality. It's like a way that women bond for some reason is talking bad about their husbands, but they may not even be in an unhappy relationship. But women will just pick out any issue to kind of turn it into a conversation and blow it up so that they can get validation from their girlfriends. And it's like, if you've got an issue with your husband, talk to him about it. That is the only person that really should know about that issue. Because now when you go in public with him, all of those women are going to look at him and know, "Oh yeah, he doesn't pick his socks up off the floor. What an asshole." That's the stuff they complain about. But yeah, it's like I want my husband to be in public with me and people to know that I have the utmost respect for him. Everything that happens in our marriage is between the two of us. And I don't involve anyone else in that.
It's like this couple that was trying to show women or men how to like find their twin flame in life. It turned out to be a cult, as all these things do. But I could see where that business dynamic would work in a healthy way. Mentoring couples as a couple. On average, men have twice the amount of savings that women have. Women drive 80% of consumer purchases in the US. And you see on TikTok this concept of girl math, where if I buy a $3,000 purse, it's free because I wore it 4 times. Do you think modern women aren't capable of saving money?
Many of them are. I had really stupid spending habits before we got married. That kinda, like, saved me from my stupid spending habits. Women are being constantly marketed to, constantly, and we have a hard time saying no to it because it's sort of like propaganda, right? Like, we're more susceptible to propaganda, we're more susceptible to consumerism, and because women have so many different products day to day that we use, and things like bags and skincare and makeup are things that we see as, like, that'll make us more valuable, it's very easy to click buy on all of the TikTok shop ads that pop up or Instagram ads. It's, like, specifically targeted towards you. So, I think it's a consumerism problem. And not so much women are not capable of saving money. It's just more so like they don't know how to stop spending it.
Hmm.
It becomes an addiction too.
What do you think that stems from? Like, what is the reason women are more susceptible to want to buy things? Like, what does it give
Well,
them?
because they see those things as valuable. Like, oh, this will make me more beautiful. This will make me look good. And all of these influencers, push these products. So they feel like they need every single product in order to look like that influencer. What you don't know is that influencer is not actually using that product. It got sent to them for free and they got paid 10K to post a TikTok.
I would say that is more common than
Mhm.
anything else. Like, even if it's their brand, like,
Yeah, they're not using their brand. How many how many female influencers and celebrities have come out with a skincare line? Like 99% of them?
right.
I feel like I see a new drop every single week and women like flood to that. And I'm like, guys, it's nothing revolutionary. They're using the same ingredients as every single other skincare line, but they're slapping their name on it.
Yeah, and those women also likely have money and they're buying an even more luxurious product than the
Mhm.
one they would sell to their audience who is uh, middle class income. It's
Yeah.
interesting. When you think about scrolling online as a woman, like, how are women being manipulated by their algorithm? Like, what videos are they seeing? What do they not realize? This is doing this to me. Like, this is making me more masculine. This is making me less wife material. This is making it harder for me to get in a relationship.
Well, you kind of curate your algorithm. So the more things that you engage with, the more it'll pop up on your feed and your algorithm. Then some things are there just to purposely make you angry.
Mhm.
I think it's the things that, like, you don't really know that they're affecting you, right? So it's half naked women dancing on TikTok, and you're like, man, I really want her body. Little do you know, she's been on Ozempic and doesn't eat anything. Or hair by Chrissy, great example. Everyone gets the like super long Tate McRae hair now. Like everyone pretty much looks the same on TikTok. And they see those videos and they're like, I have to have that hair. Like now it's a group think, right? It's herd mentality. So now I'm gonna go spend $4,000 on hair extensions and highlights. So that's the consumerism issue. But then when it comes to what's interesting about like TikTok is the most popular influencers are the mommy influencers. The ones that, like, post their mommy vlogs with their kids, like an Avery Woods or an Emily Kaiser, and it's like, why do you think those are the most popular? You all say you hate kids, but whenever I ask women who they watch on TikTok, it's always mommy influencers. Why do you think you watch them? Because you kinda like that idea, like, you like that life.
I don't see a lot of guys get daddy influencers or like babies on their feed. Do you think that's normal?
I've never seen a dad influence maybe, like, 1 or 2.
Hmm.
No, I think, like, if I go through Noah's feed, it's all, like, Tate and Hormozy. And it's, like, successful men.
Right.
But if you go through mine, yeah, it's, like, babies and cooking videos.
One I realized recently was like just travel videos. Like, if I was a woman getting a lot of travel videos, it's like, and imagine you're in a relationship where you're not traveling a lot. It's
Mhm.
basically just showing you, here are the things that you don't have. Uh, be unhappy because you don't have them, and also think it's not your fault that you don't have them, and that maybe another man could provide those. Uh, I think there's a lot of things that are deliberately being pushed to make people unhappy with how their lives are.
Yeah.
And the issue is that women are often told this idea that they could get a man easily that could give them all those things. Do you think that's true?
No, it's not true. What women don't know about a lot of these influencers that are traveling all the time is they're going on trips with men who are paying them to be there. Like, they're going on a 3-day trip with a guy for $100,000. And then they kind of repeat that cycle. So women in relationships will look at this and be like, I only had one vacation to Florida this year. I want to go to the Maldives, or I want to go to Greece. And my husband can't provide this, but I'm sure I could find another man that could. It's like, these are basically escorts that are going on these vacations, or they're OnlyFans girls who have unlimited money. And then women are looking at that, even single women, and saying, well, I should go travel the world and experience it. So now I'm going to go into debt to travel the world. It's like middle-class women looking at women who are getting all their money from OnlyFans or escort trips or sex work or something and saying, I should have that. So I'm therefore going to go into debt to have that. But in reality, like, you have no idea where that money's coming from. Same thing with bags, clothes, homes they can't afford. And so it puts them in a really bad financial predicament as well. The test of a man is staying with a woman like through from her 20s to like 60s as her beauty changes.
Huh. That's an interesting one. I wonder how a woman could test that. How do you test that? Like, how do you have that trust? It's just a hard thing to gauge out because a lot of guys do divorce their women once they're successful and like she's gotten older. Like, how can a woman tell if he's that kind of guy?
I just think you don't live your life in fear.
What's something women should stop doing immediately if they want a husband?
Posting half-naked thirst traps on their dating profiles and Instagrams. When I asked my audience, what's the number one red flag on, like, with a girl if you're dating her? So they said, was the number one answer.
Do you think women should have dating apps?
I'm not a big fan of dating apps. There is a couple, like there's a dating platform I work with that kind of connects like traditional women and men, and only the men can approach the women. And it seems to be like mainly my audience that's on there, which is kind of cool.
Right.
But yeah, I think dating apps have gotten so out of hand because it's like this swipe culture where you're looking at someone and immediately swiping. So now women are kind of only going after guys that have this certain look and vice versa. And then it tends to be a lot of hookup culture instead of committed relationships.
I think what I was trying to communicate is like, if you meet someone on social media and they're like, let's go to this spot at this spot, like I think most women would be.
Yeah, no. I would always go to a public place. Don't have them pick you up from your house. Be safe. Yeah.
What do you think women fall in love with versus what men fall in love with?
I think men fall in love with a woman's softness and character and like how much peace he brings her. And then women fall in love with, can he protect me? And do I feel safe with him?
Tell me about the peace. Like, I want to expand upon that point and really understand it. Like, for a woman listening, like, why is it so important that she creates peace in her relationship?
Because men don't want more drama. And there's like this phenomena of women just bringing toxic drama into their relationships. Either they're insecure, and so they kind of bring that up in their relationship and cause a lot of issues, or they have really bad trust issues. So they're going through his phone or asking about every single person that he knows, causing drama that way. Or they're just not secure in who they are as a person. And so they lean on him for validation.
Do you think the female insecurity comes from consumption of media mostly?
Yeah, 100%. I remember like growing up and every female celebrity was beautiful. Now I go on like comment sections with different photos of female celebrities and the guys are like, she's so mid. And it's like Tate McRae. I'm like, what? Like, what is the standard now? So if women are seeing that about like celebrities who have work done and get their hair done and makeup done professionally and look great, and you're seeing someone call them mid and fat, I think that really damages your self-esteem. And then with the era of plastic surgery and AI as well, now we have AI influencers that we get to compare ourselves to. Fantastic. It's never ending. And women are starting at a really young age.
Do you think most women should just generally not consume social media?
Yeah, I don't think they should be on it till 18. I think 18 should be like I don't think any young women, I know some younger women follow me, but I don't think anyone under 18 should be on social media, especially at the point we are
How
now.
about over 18? Like, how much time a day would you say is like max?
As little as possible. And if you're going to be on there, like, for example, like we both basically work from social media. If I'm on there, I'm creating. Like, that has to be the goal. Because if I'm just sitting there scrolling, what is that doing for me? I'm not getting any information, really. It's pretty much all brain rot. It also distorts your actual creativity. You're more creative when you are sitting in silence outside than scrolling on social media.
I personally think long form media is great for a lot of people,
Mhm.
but I think the way short form algorithms are designed, it's just like it's impossible to get any any valuable information out of them. It's mostly just rage bait or emotion bait.
Yeah.
Huh. When you think about potentially having kids in the future, um, do you think raising your daughter like a princess actually hurts her later in life?
I think some of it can lead to entitlement if you're not careful. But at the same time, I'd like my daughter to live with me until she gets married. I would like for her to always be under the protection and provision of either her dad or her husband.
Savannah, you grew up in beauty pageants, had a successful modeling career, but left it all for your marriage and your faith. For a young girl watching this right now, chasing the same path, what would you want her to understand before it's too late?
Specifically with the entertainment industry, like modeling and acting, uh, it's very dangerous and it's a very slippery slope. And if you don't have any morals or values, you will get sucked right into it. Whether that is something like a man taking advantage of you or you getting sold into human trafficking, because it happens a lot in the modeling industry. I remember getting dozens of emails a day whenever I was modeling from random brands that would disguise themselves as really big brands and offer, to fly you out and pay you $10,000 to do a shoot. And a lot of women, very young women, fall for those schemes, and they're all trafficking schemes. So you have to be extremely careful. And I would also say that if something is going to compromise on your values and your morals that you have, just stay far away from it because you always regret that. Did I give up my modeling acting career for my marriage? Not necessarily. I didn't have to. I was still modeling a little bit in the beginning of my marriage. But ultimately, I just didn't want to compromise anymore. Say anything I want and someone's not controlling what I say, and something that I didn't have to constantly compromise on.
From my view, you seem like an above average competitive woman, someone that maybe if you hadn't found your partner, you'd be driven to want to be ultra successful. And you're on a success path in your own way, but it's more of like a shared goal. Like for the women who want to be ultra successful in life, what warning do you have for them, maybe? Like ultra successful by themselves, girl boss. Like what warning do you have for that?
What is it all for? What's the point of making millions of dollars if you have no one to share it with and no legacy after you? I think deep down, women do want that. And when you're sitting on your rocking chair at 80 years old, are you going to be satisfied because you've got 10 Birkins? Or do you want to see grandchildren running around in your yard? So you can be successful, but for what? Is it for materialism or because you want to build a legacy?
Do you think women who say they don't want kids are lying?
Somebody just asked me this yesterday. Yes, I do think they are. I think some women are not fit to be mothers, and I don't want them to be mothers. But again, this goes back to the mommy influencer thing. All these women who say they don't want kids, their favorite content to watch is like the Ace Family or family vlogs or mommy vlogs or relationship content. I think most of them are lying, yes.
What do you think they're missing? Like, why do you think that's... Because I've met people in my life who've genuinely said that and meant that, or felt as though they meant it.
Well, we live in a very individualistic society where it's all about me. And even to be married, it can't be all about you. And then therefore to have children and be married, it really can't be all about you all the time. So I think women realize that, where they're like, it won't be 100% my needs all the time or my priority, or I can't get on a plane and fly to Mexico tomorrow if I wanted to because I have kids at home. So yeah, and that didn't used to be the case. It used to be that women and men wanted to do whatever they could for the betterment of society. But now it's about self, not about what's good for society.
Savannah, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received from your husband?
I'm going to attribute this to Noah, but then he attributes it to Andrew Tate. He says hot and cold make a tornado. So there's been times that I've wanted to back off and like not say as much as I do now. Because there was a time last year when I first started social media where we were getting so much backlash. I was like, is this really worth it? Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Who cares about social media? And he was like, all publicity is good publicity, and it takes hot and cold air to make a tornado. So you have to have people that like you and support you, but you have to, it's really important to have people that hate you. So now I enjoy that actually and embrace it.
Yeah, something I say sometimes is truth usually lies somewhere in between, but real change lies in the extremes. And while your views might be extreme to some people, I think at the very least, they'll make people consider if they're actually happy in the goals that they're chasing, or if they could be more aligned with some of the values you're preaching. I think you have a mostly helpful message. So
thank you.
Savannah Faithstone, this is the Jack Neel Podcast. I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you?
Savannah Faithstone on YouTube, X, Instagram, and TikTok.
This is the Jack Neel Podcast. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.